countries with really diverse opportunities and with huge potential awaiting to be released. On this sunny day, it is our pleasure to launch a discussion about the government support for investments in Ukraine. My name is Oleksandr. I'm third secretary of the Embassy of Ukraine-Kuwaiti, and I will be moderating today's conference. Our distinguished guests, whom I will introduce a bit later, will highlight today such significant subjects as unprecedented state incentives for investors, legal regulations for investments in Ukraine, UkraineInvest role as government's promotion office, as well as investment opportunities and privatisation. And our special welcome goes to over 75 participants who have launched their Zoom link and have joined us online. And taking into consideration the fact that our audience is so numerous, let me tell you, dear friends, that we will have a question and answer. And one highly important note, dear friends, especially our listeners who have joined our event online, please mute yourselves, switch off your microphone unless you're delivering a speech. We would much appreciate it. And don't hesitate to write your questions in the common Zoom chat. At the end of the conference, we will collect all your questions and address it to our distinguished speakers. And now, let's discover together all the details about the government support for investments in Ukraine. I kindly invite the second vice chairman of Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Fahad Yaqub Al-Joam, to open our conference with a welcoming remark. Mr. Fahad, كلنا أدام صاغية.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Mr. Dmytro Senik, Deputy Minister of the Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Your Excellency Dr. Oleksandr, Ambassador of the Ukrainian-Kuwaiti, Dr. Rashid Al-Adwani, Ambassador of Kuwait in Ukraine, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry, it is a great pleasure to welcome you all here today. This meeting is supported by the online platform, wishing Your Excellency Mr. Dmytro Senik a pleasant stay and a pleasant. There is no doubt that the Kuwait-Ukrainian relations dating back to 1993 have become more entrenched thanks to the efforts of both governments by enhancing the business environment and facilitating the trade flows, as well as signing agreements, especially in the areas of avoiding double taxation, preventing financial evasion, and implementing mutual protections of investments between the two countries. Thus, KCCI, as a representative of the private sector, feels the responsibility to contribute in fulfilling and strengthening this relationship and promote its border levels, and of course, holding such a meeting with open new horizons in reinforcing bilateral ties between the two countries. Ladies and gentlemen, our common interests urge us to strengthen the bilateral trade and investment arenas, where the official statistics indicates that our trade exchange has developed to reach more than $52 million in 2019. The growth of the Ukrainian export to Kuwait is also remarkable, including the meat and the edible oils, cereals, animal and vegetable products, and various metal and products. In view of the Ukrainians' attractive investment environment and its competitive potential, especially in the areas of aviation, industry, agriculture, and real estate, there is a clear interest from the part of Kuwaiti investors to comprehend the available investments opportunities in Ukraine and understand the environments and laws governing the investment process. In its part, KCCI confirmed its clear interest in strengthening cooperation relations with Ukraine by encouraging nationals to invest in Ukraine while also at the same time urging Ukrainian firms to contribute toward Kuwait development plan. Distinguished guests, to conclude my speech, I would like to stress the readiness of the Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry to cooperate with its counterparts from Ukraine in order to achieve our mutual goals and enhance the strategic economic partnership. I sincerely appreciate your consideration and thank you for your good listening. Wishing you all an enjoyable stay and fruitful mission to our home. Thank you.
Dear Mr. Pat, thank you very much for your truly significant remarks. And now the floor goes to Deputy Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Mr. Dmytro Senik. Mr. Dmytro, you are most welcome.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Dobro ranku. It's a great pleasure to be here. And Mr. Pat, I would like to thank you and your team from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry for co-organizing this very important event. I would like also to recognize Ambassador of Ukraine, Dr. Oleksandr Balanutsa, and Ambassador of Kuwait to Ukraine, Dr. Dmytro, for their contribution to this important event. Let me also introduce Ukrainian team who will brief today on the investment opportunities in Ukraine. Mr. Taras Yeleyka, who is the Deputy Chairman of the State Property Fund of Ukraine. He is online today. And Mr. Sergei Tsipkach, the Executive Director of the Ukraine Investment Promotion Office, who will also explain how many opportunities to invest are there in Ukraine. So let me wish everyone a great event, a very fruitful one, and we look forward to receiving a great delegation, as we say, live, offline in Ukraine at the convenient time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dmytro, for your truly insightful remarks. And now I kindly invite Dr. Oleksandr Balanutsa, Ambassador of Ukraine to the state of Kuwait, to shed more light on the subject of our today's conference. Dr. Oleksandr, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ms. Olga. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. مرحبا أهلا بكم. أنا أشعر بكل سرور حضور هناك. أنا أريد أن أستخدم هذا الفرصة على أشكركم الفريق التجاري على كل دعم لدينا مشكور. وأنا أريد أن أشكركم كل ضيوف الحضور في مؤتمرنا. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Dobro ranku. I'm very happy, honored, and delighted to participate in this event. This is a very specific moment when we have the first visit after the COVID times of the Deputy Foreign Minister, that we've been working hard for more than a year of his visit since 2020. And today we are delighted that Deputy Foreign Minister Dmytro Senik is with us to co-host the seminar, which is so important nowadays. Why? Ukraine has always been a very well-known country, but for some of the businessmen it was terra incognita, because they didn't understand where to invest, why to invest, how much to invest, and how secure it is. Now we understand that because of the government support, which our Deputy Foreign Minister emphasized, we have new incentives that have never been available before. And today our great team from Ukraine will represent some of the truly peculiar, specific things which we really need to know as the investors, and especially the Chamber of Commerce unites 50,000 more members. And I'm very thankful, Mr. Fahad, for all your support that you always distribute and speak out and disseminate all the information that we have. I'm very happy to see also Mr. Sari from the Union of Investment Companies and the whole team. I cannot but mention Mr. Ahmad Zaid. It is my honor, pleasure that you've been always working with me on a daily basis. Thank you for putting this together. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our team is very professional. Please make sure that you don't hesitate to ask questions. The questions will be all answered. We have a great opportunity to discover Ukraine. I wish you all a very successful day, and we are always available at your service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oleksandr, for your comprehensive and energetic, as always, overview. And now the floor goes to Ambassador Dr. Rashid Dmytro, who joined our event online. Dr. Rashid, يشرفنا حضوركم. أهلا وسهلا.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dobry rano. Good morning, esteemed guests and experts of this online meeting dedicated to the government support of investment in Ukraine. I am glad to welcome here His Excellency Fahad Yaqub Al-Jawan, Second Vice Chairman of Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and His Excellency Dmytro Senik, Deputy Foreign Minister of Ukraine, as well as other distinguished participation of this meeting. I would also like to thank the Embassy of Ukraine in the state of Kuwait, and especially His Excellency Ambassador Oleksandr Balanutsa for organizing of this online effort. The bilateral relation between Ukraine and Kuwait started with Ukrainian independence and the constantly developing through cooperation between our friendly countries and people. Investment is one of the spheres and strengthen the bond between us and contribute to economic growth and prosperity of both our countries. Being as ambassador of state of Kuwait in Ukraine, I want to emphasize that Ukrainian possibility and numerous and promising the area that could of the great interest for Kuwait investors and are the healthcare, agriculture, tourism, real estate, and many others. I am grateful to our Ukrainian friend for presentation information about Ukrainian investment possibility. And I would like to thank our Kuwaiti guests for their interest in Ukraine and for finding time in their busy schedule to discuss such important issue. I hope this online meeting will be informative and useful for all of us. And thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Many thanks, Dr. Rashid, for your truly informative notes. And now Mr. Dmytro Senik, Deputy Foreign Minister of Ukraine, is back on the stage to introduce his colleagues from the Investment Promotion Office and the State Property Fund of Ukraine. Mr. Dmytro, the floor is yours.
Dear friends, distinguished partners of the Ukrainian-Kuwaiti Investment Forum, it's an honor to be with you today, and it is also my great pleasure to note that warm and friendly relations between Ukraine and Kuwait do open up broad horizons for expanding trade, economic and investment cooperation. Both our nations went through a very challenging period caused by COVID-19, when the traditional supply chains were disrupted and many nations faced serious economic challenges and hardships. The only possible solution to this would be economic cooperation. And today's initiative, today's event, seeks to explore business opportunities that will benefit our nations. Ukraine is widely known in the state of Kuwait and other Gulf states as a reliable supplier of food products, a destination for recreation and medical tourism. Ukraine is also recognized for its IT talents, sports legacy associated with our prominent athletes and coaches like Shevchenko, Bubka, or Lobanovsky. Nowadays, we witness a growing interest in Kuwait and other Gulf states to invest in Ukraine in such promising sectors as green energy and renewables, infrastructure and construction, real estate, agriculture, including agro-tech, as well as information technologies. Dear friends, Ukraine is open for business, and I strongly encourage taking full advantage of the opportunities that the government of Ukraine offers to foreign investors. Ukraine has introduced a special package of initiatives which, together with economic and judicial reforms, accelerate economic growth, liberalize the economy, making a stable and predictable environment for foreign business to successfully operate in Ukraine. Comprehensive reforms in all key areas of legal system and in the economic sector are underway to ensure attractive business environment. Over the last years, Ukraine has significantly improved its global ranking in doing business with economists' stable outlook according to main rating rankings. Over the years 2015-2019, Ukraine attracted foreign direct investment flows of 16 billion, channeled for construction over 100 manufacturing plants, representing tens of thousands of new high added value jobs. As part of the global value chain, Ukraine has concluded 18 free trade agreements with outreach to 47 countries. These free trade agreements include the game-changing FTA's aspect of Ukraine's association agreement with the European Union signed in 2014. Ukraine's highly skilled labor is demanded around the world. According to the Good Country Index, Ukraine's science and technology global contribution is ranked at an eye-opening first place in 2018, which accounts for the robust development of Ukraine's IT industry. Ukraine is home to global companies that began as successful startups. You may have heard of Grammarly, Deposita Photos, MacPo, and Petcube. Oracle, Ring, Siemens, Cisco, and Samsung have established major R&D facilities in Ukraine. And new legislation allowing special and very attractive conditions for IT business development is in the pipeline. The law stipulates a legal framework, so-called DSCT, a virtual digital zone offering special taxation to companies and individuals working in the sphere of technological development. This is a place where state regulation is minimal and which will thrive with the creation of innovative products and multinational companies of any size, where Ukrainian and foreign entrepreneurs have the opportunity to bring to life the most ambitious and innovative business ideas. And given that Ukraine is an IT powerhouse in Central and Eastern Europe, I think that is also creates a lot of opportunities for foreign investors. Last February, the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, signed the law of Ukraine on state support for investment projects with significant investments. The law defines organizational, legal, and financial principles of the state support for investment projects. And we will talk about that later. I will not steal the thunder from my friend Sergei Tsivkach, who will brief you on that in more details. But this is a good step forward, which illustrates the government's serious intentions to attract investments, support investors, and the system in any matter of doing business in Ukraine. The land reform also allows investors to look at Ukraine as an agriculture hub. Our gross grain production is growing every year, and according to the latest forecast, an impressive record of 100 million tons of grain is expected this year. A significant share of this grain will be sold to our foreign partners. And that is why investment in Ukraine's infrastructure can be another attractive opportunity. We already have a concession project in the port of Olbia on the south of Ukraine with Qatari Q Terminal Company, and we offer our friends and partners to participate in similar infrastructure projects on the coast of Ukraine. Noteworthy that development of cooperation with countries from the Gulf region is a priority for Ukraine. And we look forward to further development of our cooperation, especially on the projects related to food security, where Ukraine can help in ensuring uninterrupted supplies of vital products. Dear participants, we invite you to contact the Council of Exporters and Investors under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, as well as the economic section at our embassy in Kuwait that may serve you as a focal point. Our today's online event will present detailed first-hand information about investment opportunities in Ukraine. And to explore them further, let me invite you to Ukraine to learn more specific investment projects, establish direct contact with relevant Ukrainian government stakeholders, local sources, and business circles. And before I conclude, let me once again reiterate my appreciation to Mr. Fahad, our ambassadors and our participants for their involvement and interest. Again, I wish you all a fruitful event and invite Kuwaiti business to become a part of Ukraine's success story. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dmytro, for your really thought-provoking speech. And now let me kindly invite Mr. Sergei Tsivkach, Executive Director of UkraineInvest Promotion Office. Mr. Sergei.
Good day. I would like to welcome you all to this event. Thank you for the invitation. Your Excellencies, Deputy Minister, ladies and gentlemen, all that are present at our event. It is my great honor today to speak on behalf of UkraineInvest. My presentation, my welcome speech will be followed by more technical presentation from our team. Oksana Tkachuk, head of our investment attractions team, will explain you more about presidential initiative, very important initiative that is open now for all investors in Ukraine. This initiative opens possibility to get state support for investment projects with significant investments. Significant investments, according to the law, are 20 million euros that can be invested within 5 years' time. So Ukraine is open for cooperation with Kuwait, with businesses from Kuwait, and Ukraine has changed a lot. Ukraine has changed a lot because we are moving from potential for investment into practical stages of attraction of investments and attraction of businesses from abroad. Ukraine has done a lot during pandemic year. We have changed seriously and significantly our regulatory policy. We have introduced historic reforms like gradual opening of land market, which is very important for food security and cooperation with agri-investors, as rightly Deputy Minister Senik has mentioned. We have passed the law on intermodal transportation, still in the process of passing this law, and passed the law on inner water transportation. We have completed decentralization in Ukraine. Why this is important for investors? Because our regions now, they are more independent in terms of cooperation with investors, and they understand better needs of investors. I personally now talk from Dnipro region. I am not in Kiev today. I am meeting investors in the region, and I can see strong interest from international community in Ukrainian regions. We will be very much happy to support investors from Kuwait. We can see strong interest from investors from Gulf countries in energy sector, in agri sector, in infrastructure of Ukraine, in metalworking, in other sectors that have strong potential for development. UkraineInvest is governmental office that is acting on behalf of government and provides free of charge support for investors that are interested to cooperate with Ukraine. We have all analytical data and we have all capabilities in order to introduce you to Ukraine. We can introduce you to authorities, we can introduce you to regional authorities, we can introduce you to businesses, we can help you find business partners and explain what are the most promising investment projects in Ukraine at the moment. So we remain open to contacts from you. I would like to thank again specifically to ambassadors, to Ambassador of Ukraine in Kuwait and to Ambassador of Kuwait in Ukraine. You're doing a great job, and with support of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. This is the way that we are going through in terms of attraction of investment, and I'm sure that practical results are in the very near future for us. So our office is open to all investors that want to hear maybe information about legislative updates, regulatory policy, or maybe you need information about specific sectors of economy of Ukraine. We are happy to provide you with this. We are open to cooperation, and I would like to now pass the floor to my colleague Oksana Tkachuk, who will tell you more details about regulatory updates and what kind of incentives state of Ukraine provides to investors right now. Welcome to Ukraine. Please do get in touch with us with any queries that you may have. Thank you very much, and I wish you all very productive day and conference.
Ms. Oksana, are you with us? If you are online, if you can hear us, you are welcome. We probably got some technical issues with the Zoom, with the link.
Good afternoon, dear Excellencies. I would like to continue the speech of Mr. Tsivkach. I welcome all the participants of the event, and I will share my presentation to tell you more about the investment opportunities in Ukraine. So, Ukraine is the largest country in Europe by air, and its population is about 42 million people. The GDP of Ukraine in 2020 is 156 billion US dollars. Ukraine remains a reliable trade partner to the state of Kuwait, as has already been said. The export to Kuwait in 2020 accounted for $36 million. The total amount of FDI stock from Kuwait accounts for over 2.5 million US dollars. Over the past several years in Ukraine, the government undertook key reforms that allowed it to improve the business climate significantly. Thus, Ukraine jumped up 7 ladders in the doing business ranking since 2019 and now occupies the 64th place. Ukraine improved its position in the international credit ratings, Fitch ratings, and S&P. Moody's raised Ukraine's credit rating to be stable. Total FDI into the Ukrainian economy amounted 49.6 billion of US dollars. The first quarter of 2021 shows positive dynamics, and FDI amounts to 51.7 billion US dollars. The most inflows are into manufacturing sector that shows 25.42 of total amount, trade 15.8%, mining 9.3%, real estate 9.2%, and financials 9.1%. Ukrainian government and UkraineInvest team is committed to developing mutually beneficial cooperation between Ukraine and the state of Kuwait by providing customized one-stop shop services that tailor to specific needs of an efficient dialogue between the government and business community. We provide support to potential investors and high-quality aftercare services to the investors existing in Ukraine. We also provide assistance and advice to investors in resolving issues that arise in the course of preparing and implementing their project in Ukraine. Additionally, we also strive to improve the investment climate in Ukraine and elaborate proposals for amendments to the regulation. Our efforts are also focused on informing investors about investment opportunities that Ukraine has to offer. Recently, our institution has been authorized to serve as the institution responsible for supporting investments projects according to the new legislation, the law on state support of investment projects with significant investments, that I will tell you about a little bit later. So this is actually the slide and the information about the law. This new law on state support for investments projects with significant investments features a number of benefits, including tax incentives, simplified access to land, and the consolidation of investor guarantees through the conclusion of a direct agreement with the Ukrainian authorities for up to 15 years. The state support for such investors will cover up to 30% of investments in the form of fiscal and other investments. So these attractive terms will be available to investors who invest more than 20 million euro and creating at least 80 new workplaces within 5 years period. The investment objects have to be constructed, renovated, or re-equipped. The areas of investment project implementation are quite vast, as you can see on the slide. These include the processing industry, except for manufacturing of tobacco products, ethanol, cognac, and fruit spirits, alcoholic beverages, their extraction, but for the purpose of further processing or enrichment of natural resources, waste management, transportation, warehousing, postal and courier activities, logistics, sports, tourism, arts and culture, hospitality, healthcare, R&D, education. So you can address to UkraineInvest in case you have the projects with significant investments, and we will be ready and we'll be glad to support you with all this process of making an application to the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine free of charge. UkraineInvest is currently working on a program Make in UA. Thanks to a number of competitive advantages, Ukraine now has a chance to become a leading manufacturing and industrial hub with a huge nearshoring appeal. These advantages include a unique location at the crossroads of key trade routes linking Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, proximity to key markets. Ukraine also boasts a highly skilled and cost-competitive workforce, along with a wide selection of greenfield and brownfield locations that are already available for development. We also offer international companies the promise of scalability. Concerns are growing in the prosperous countries that are starting to approach the upper limits of its manufacturing and human capital capacities. These are areas where Ukraine excels, and foreign companies can establish a presence in Ukraine as an extension of existing activities in other parts of Europe or worldwide. This model is practically suitable for the electronics, automotive, the chemical industries, but can equally apply to a wide range of other industries as well. So in order to meet investors' need for accurate and reliable information, our team elaborated the UkraineInvest guide, which is set to become a starting point for international investors to enter Ukrainian market. This guide provides the business with the most relevant information in the regulatory policy, as well as it includes the prospective investment projects, including public-private partnership and privatization. It is available online so that anyone can get access to the most up-to-date information from any place in the world at any given moment. So we would like to ensure you that we are your partners in Ukraine, and we are looking forward to cooperating with you and guiding your investments in Ukraine. Thank you very much for attention, and I will be glad to answer the questions that would arise.
Thank you very much, Ms. Oksana, for sharing with us all this valuable and precious insights. And now my pleasure to invite Mr. Taras Yeleyko, Deputy Chairman of the State Property Fund of Ukraine. Mr. Taras, the floor is yours.
Dear colleagues, dear excellencies, thank you a lot for this opportunity to introduce you investment opportunities in Ukraine through privatization. Right now, Ukraine is really great country, and frankly speaking, one of a few countries in Europe that still has initial state property market. And I would like to show you all these opportunities and how to participate in the privatization, what are current investment ideas, and the general market structure. Maybe. Ukraine, if you are talking about Ukrainian state property, Ukraine still has more than 3,600 state-owned enterprises. Generally, we understand that more than 1,000 enterprises can be privatized, and right now, the political will is in place, the president, the parliament, the government, all are aimed to privatize and move all these enterprises to the private market, because we understand that the private investors in lots of cases are really more efficient owners of these assets. So the state property fund role is to arrange all these privatization processes, prepare the assets for privatization and move them to the market. Right now, the privatization process in Ukraine looks very similar to standard M&A deals. So for every asset, all investors will see initial documents, teasers, will get access to virtual data room, will get online access to all documents, to all initial documentations and ability to conduct due diligences, certainly access to physical assets on the ground. And after that, the only difference between M&A deal and privatization processes in Ukraine is that the assets are sold through transparent auctions. Very, very comfortable. Very, very comfortable auctions that are arranged by on Prozoro sale platform. Also, in order to support our investors, State Property Fund set investment relations office that already provided support to more than 350 investors in on all continents. Also, for the comfort of the potential investors, in order to take a look at the assets, because as I've told, currently we are moving to privatization more than 1,000 enterprises, and also we have lots of different type of assets as pieces of real estate, as other state-owned assets. We prepared, and for your purpose, is available very comfortable internet site privatization.ua, where you can find all information about the assets, also the rules how to participate in the privatization, all draft of the documents that will be required for application to participate in the privatization, and description of the procedures. The site is available in English, so for the comfort of investors, and also there are the contacts of our investment relations office on this internet site, so you will be able to get all operational support through privatization process. Also, as I mentioned, State Property Fund, in order to provide very easy access to initial documents for all potential investors all over the world, we are using such instrument as virtual data rooms, where all initial documentations is uploaded, and all investors, after signing an NDA, get access to this virtual data room. So after operationally, it looks like you sign one-time NDA with State Property Fund, and you will get access to all information about all objects of privatization as old one, also to the new, which will be uploaded into this virtual data room. According to the law, the privatization in Ukraine is split into two categories. And I will explain you the difference, because all investors will meet with this question. So the privatization is split into large-scale privatization and small-scale privatization. The large-scale privatization is other assets with book value according to local accounting standards above $9 million. And these assets are prepared for privatization with attraction of investment advisors, investment banks, that helps us to prepare all due diligences and conduct road shows for these assets. Currently, State Property Fund has in list of large-scale privatization more than 20 assets, and in 1 month we will have the first auctions for these assets. So you are welcome. About small-scale privatization, we are talking about list of more than 1,000 assets. These assets, according to the law, are prepared by State Property Funds. So as I described previously, you will find teasers, all initial documentations in virtual data rooms, and ability to conduct your own due diligences based on initial documentation. So I will show you some real investment opportunities in these two categories that currently are on the table. So in small-scale privatization, very interesting idea, investment idea, is small regional seaports. Currently, we are preparing 3 seaports for privatization. These seaports are placed on the Black Sea seaside. So the conditions of privatization will be very, very simple. only to preserve the activity of the ports, and the investor will get opportunity to make investments and get really interesting assets under management. The first seaport will be privatized this autumn, so all information is also available on the internet site privatization.gov.ua, so you are welcome to participate in these auctions. Also, we have the second opportunity I would like to present is grain processing plants. It's old, very huge, built in Soviet era grain processing plant, which are placed in the best agriculture regions in a very good like geographical points. In former Soviet era, it was a part of supply chain of the grain supply chain to the state, and right now we are talking about really great companies. Unfortunately, they all required investments, but the state decided to privatize them, and in order to attract investments and make them efficient once again. So it's very great opportunities for the companies that are looking for investments in agriculture in Ukraine. And we already conducted 2 auctions already. So Radovilivsky plant and Dmytro plant was sold, and currently on the table we are working on 5 more grain processing plants, and the auction will be announced this year and in the first quarter of the next year. Also, we have, if investors are interested in development, we have a very interesting proposals also for such investments. We are talking about planetary systems objects. In Ukraine, we have a huge amount of frozen and objects of planetary system that are not used for more than 10 years. And these objects are usually placed in the downtown of big cities. So we are right now also preparing them to privatization. So here we are talking not about planetary system objects, but we are talking, frankly speaking, about land plots with different size. In average, it's 10 hectares in the downtowns of the cities. And right now we are marketing, we already sold one such object in Lviv city. And right now we are marketing to another object and working to move to the market another 7 objects by the end of the year. So here, all investors that are interested in development in Ukraine are welcomed, because it's really great opportunities to get land plots with all communications in place, with good documents. So also welcome. Also, the interesting investment opportunities are peat mining enterprises in Ukraine. We have one of the largest peat deposits in Europe. Unfortunately, they are not excavated right now in a proper amount, because all this was done by state companies. Unfortunately, most of them went bankrupt, but still we have all these deposits are in place, and right now the state decided to move these factories to privatization, and new investors definitely with additional investments will get opportunity to excavate a huge amount of peat, and export opportunities are really great in this area. About large-scale privatization, here we are talking about really great and large big objects, big ones. So the first object of large-scale privatization that will be sold this October, on 27th of October, the auction is announced, is first machinery building plant. We are selling equities, but unfortunately this machinery building plant was very active like 50 years ago. Right now it doesn't produce a huge amount of machinery, but it owns the great land plot in downtown of Kyiv with total area more than 33 hectares. And here we are talking about really the district of the capital of Ukraine. And we understand that this object will be the most interesting for developers and opportunity, frankly speaking, it's the last such place in the capital of Ukraine where you can develop such great project on the solid land plot with total area more than 33 hectares. The second privatization asset of large-scale privatization, which are planned to be sold this autumn, is United Mining and Chemical Company. Here, it's a really unique company. We are talking about mining company that is working with titanium ore, and it's one of the biggest company in the world. Totally, it covers 4% of titanium ore production in the world. And Ukraine, as you know, has a huge amount of titanium deposits. So this company is working on these deposits, and the auction is announced also on 29th of October. I believe that the materials was available to lots of investors. Also, because we asked our embassies to distribute these materials, because we are talking about really great investment opportunities, and this company is 90% export oriented, so really great company with zero debt, operational, active, and we also are looking for competitive investors. And as I mentioned, the auction will be held, and you can get all information contacting with advisor who is leading this company to privatization. It's BDO Corporate Finance. So also all information about this investment opportunity I will ask to distribute after our meeting, and I will ask also to distribute the teasers with all contact details. Also, the third object of large-scale privatization is very well known all over the world. Odessa portside plant. It's a state-owned nitrogen fertilizer producer, one of the biggest in, and frankly, the biggest in former Soviet Union, placed on Chernomorsk Black Sea seaside, unique company. And the privatization is also on its way, and the auction will be announced early in the first quarter of 2022. So thank you for your attention, and I will be happy to answer all your questions and give you more details about investment opportunities in Ukraine, because as I mentioned, Ukraine is right now really one of, maybe even one country in Europe that has a huge market of a huge initial market of state property and political will to privatize this property in the next 2 years. Thank you. So you are welcome to our auctions.
Thank you very much, dear Mr. Taras. Your presentation was really comprehensive. Just a humble reminder for our listeners, especially those who are joining our event online, please mute yourself and switch off your microphone unless you're delivering a speech. And of course, as I have said above, you can write your question in the comment zone chat. At the end of the conference, we will collect and address it to our distinguished speakers. So don't miss this precious opportunity. And in the meanwhile, our next speaker is Mr. Saleh Al-Salim, President of Union of Investment Companies. Mr. Saleh, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, I'd rather to be listening because we are really excited to see what Ukraine has as opportunities. But the meanwhile, I'm great pleasure to really thank the Chamber of Commerce through second Vice President for hosting this meeting, and also for Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Dmytro Senik, as well as our friend Dr. Oleksandr and Balanutsa, which we had many meetings, and he was really very active, and really he made us excited to see what Ukraine had in terms of opportunities and investment there and all areas. So really, also we have another meeting at 1 o'clock. So I'd rather, after thanking all of them and all the who was with us, okay, and I would like to be a pure listener, if you might allow me to be in this position. Really to concentrate, then to convey this message to our partners in the union for what we have here. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Senik, for bringing all these relevant ideas to our negotiation table. And now I kindly invite Mr. Yusuf Al-Mazkour, investment analyst at Kuwait Investment Authority, to share with us your thoughts and your concepts about the subject of our today's conference. Mr. Yusuf, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for organizing this forum. Also the UkraineInvest for the presentations. It's very beneficial. Of course, we're always interested about hearing about these kinds of projects and the opportunities the region presents. And as KIA, we are long-term investors and always look for these strategic partnerships and investment opportunities. And for our guidelines, you have completed transparency, security, and showed us the growth potential and profitability of these kinds of projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yusuf, for your thought-provoking speech, and let me also extend sincere gratitude to all of our speakers, participants, and listeners for their precious time, efforts, and always valuable insights that you shared with us today. And my pleasure now to announce a question and answer session. Dear participants, if you haven't written yet your question in the comment chat, please do it right now. And as for now, we've got a lot of questions, and most of them are addressed to the Investment Promotion Office and the State Property Fund of Ukraine. So question number 1. How many companies already expressed interest in receiving the state support according to the new law? What are the key areas? What is UkraineInvest's role?
As for today, we as UkraineInvest collect the applications of the potential investors who would like to receive the assistance of our institution to apply for the government support. As for now, we have 27 companies that are interested to invest in Ukraine with significant investments, more than $20 million for the total amount of more than $2 billion. As far as the sectors that are mostly interested by investors are the manufacturing, the agro-processing, waste management. These are the main, I would say. UkraineInvest assists the investors with the whole application process. That means that we support investor with consultations on how to prepare the documents to apply for the state support, how to collect, what kind of documents they need to prepare for the application, and during the whole process of the application, when it starts with the Minister of Economy of Ukraine and ends the Cabinet of Ministers who will sign the special investment agreement with the investor.
Thank you very much. And the next question actually consists of 2 small questions. So do the state incentives work only for foreign significant investors or also for Ukrainians? And how many investors can participate in one project over 20 million euro, which can be supported by the Ukrainian government?
As far as the first questions, there are the investor with significant investments can be foreigner as well as Ukrainian. So there are no restrictions for this. As far as the second question, let me see. Excuse me.
Take your time, Ms. Oksana.
How many investors? There are also no restrictions for the quantity of investors that could participate in one project. There are no restrictions.
Great, thank you very much. And the next portion of questions. Is it possible to organize site visits, meetings with banks, etc., with the assistance of UkraineInvest?
Yes, of course, we are ready to assist you with organizing different kind of meetings with different local authorities as well as the state authorities that are needed to be organized.
Thank you very much. The fourth question is the following. State Property Fund of Ukraine, could you share the presentations and investment proposals, especially those that were presented today during the conference?
Yes, certainly. We will provide investment memo and also investment atlas that we prepared for all investors with a huge amount of all other different projects, including that I presented already, also with a huge amount of different projects. Thank you. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you, Mr. Taras. And are there subsidized industrial zones in Ukraine and cheap land for industry?
Yes, actually, the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine recently has adopted the amendments to the law on industrial parks, aimed at attracting investments in the industrial sector of the economy by introducing incentives in these industrial parks. In particular, the documents provides for the introduction of compensation to management companies, initiators of creation and participants in the industrial parks in the amount of 50% of the cost of connection to power grids. And the document also introduces compensation to participants in the industrial park for the interest payments on loans. In the law indicated that participants in industrial parks can be IT companies, enterprises of processing industry,
Ms. Oksana, I'm afraid bad connection. Could you repeat the last phrase? Okay, when Ms. Oksana is still reconnecting, Dr. Oleksandr Balanutsa would like to take the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had a question in regards to whether UkraineInvest Promotion Office can help to arrange meetings with bankers or whoever appropriate authority will be. I would definitely say that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, namely the Council of Investors and Exporters, definitely can help to arrange all the necessary meetings should it be a request. You can address us, the Embassy of Ukraine in Kuwait, directly. We'll be able to promote and help to get in touch with the central authorities in Ukraine through our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And we'll definitely arrange all necessary meetings.
Thank you, Dr. Oleksandr. We may continue it. Okay, the next question is addressed to both UkraineInvest and State Property Fund. What are the plans for additional petrochemical or refinery complex expansion by the government? Ms. Oksana, are you with us? Mr. Taras?
As I understand, right now we don't have a very precise plans, but Ukraine really are modernizing its facilities in refinery facilities, and I think that we will prepare more we will collect more information and share it with the colleagues through our Ministry of External Affairs.
Okay, thank you very much. And could you please clarify how long does it take to establish a company and open a bank account in Ukraine?
Generally, in order to start Ukrainian company, you will need roughly 2 weeks.
Nice, thank you very much. Ms. Oksana, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great, welcome back, welcome aboard. So the following question. What are the laws that guarantee the Arab investor to engage in a profitable investment activity in the field of real estate and agriculture in particular? What are the opportunities in agricultural sector, healthcare, e-commerce?
As far as the laws, I would point out the main and important law on investment incentives that I have already showed in my presentation, that is for investors with significant investments. It also includes the agriculture sphere. As far as the opportunities in agriculture, real estate, as well as other sectors, you can address to UkraineInvest guide that I have also already presented to you. It is on our web page, available online. There are a lot of investment opportunities of different sectors, including investment projects that are seeking for investors.
Thank you very much, Ms. Oksana. And does the Ukrainian government offer customs facilities on exports of agricultural products from Ukraine to other countries? And what about the facilities for importing products into Ukraine?
Yes, there are customs facilities for exporting agri-products and importing equipment for businesses, and this market is quite growing.
Thank you very much, Ms. Oksana. And one of our listeners asks, in the event that I establish a company in Ukraine, so what about owning agricultural land?
As for now, agricultural land is not available for purchase for foreigners in Ukraine. But as Mr. Tsipkach has already said, Ukraine launched this reform of selling agricultural land, unfortunately now only for Ukrainian citizens. But there are opportunities for a lease of agricultural land in Ukraine.
Thank you. And we have finally got an appreciation message from our listeners. Let me read it for you. Thank you for communicating and offering investment opportunities in Ukraine. I'm very keen to invest in it, in the field of energy, oil and gas, as well as the field of real estate, contracting and construction, as well as in the field of health and physical therapy. I would like to establish a company in the capital, Kyiv, and I would like to obtain facilities for establishing the company. And we would like to know how much the fees are.
It is not very difficult to establish the company in Ukraine. As my precedor has already said, it would take at about 2 weeks, but I would say if you have collected all the documents that are needed to establish the company, it could take even 24 hours. You can also apply online to our DIA city, or not DIA web portal, and can register the enterprise online as well.
Thank you.
If you need the additional consultancy on the particular documents, I would recommend you to address to UkraineInvest. We will instruct you through the whole process, just not to take time to tell you a lot of information just now.
Thank you, dear Ms. Oksana. And would you let me address the same question to the representative of the State Property Fund of Ukraine, Mr. Taras? So one of our listeners is really interested in investing in the field of energy, oil, gas, as well as the field of real estate, contracting and construction. So he's really keen to know how much the fees are.
From the State Property Fund, yes, the agency that is in charge of privatization. If you are talking about such investment interest, we can provide a list of the assets that can be appropriate for such investments, really for developing, for all other type of investments. So I will ask my colleagues to prepare the list of companies that are currently on the market that are proposed for investors, and in the nearest times that we will have the auctions, and we will send this list, and we'll be happy to see the investors in such companies.
Thank you very much, dear Mr. Taras. The following question. Can you rent or lease agricultural land in Ukraine? What kind of support the Ukrainian government can provide? How much minimum investment needed?
There are no limits on investments, and yes, the foreigner can rent or lease agricultural land in Ukraine. Government of Ukraine does not provide the assistance for the rent or lease agreements, but you can address to UkraineInvest, and we could try to search for the appropriate opportunities in Ukraine, and would recommend something for rent as well.
Thank you very much. And does Ukraine provide citizenship for investors?
Unfortunately not. We do not have such kind of incentives just for now.
Okay, and what is the opportunity evaluation for the tire recycle in Ukraine for alternative fuel? Should I repeat the question?
We do not have specific stimulus or incentives for the alternative fuel, but we could prepare you more information on this specific question. Probably we could assist you with the answer.
Okay, thank you very much. And there is another appreciation message from our listeners. Let me read it for you. Thank you for giving us the golden opportunity to invest in Ukraine. We want, the listener says, we want to communicate directly to create a company. I want to know the rules and the way. Can we do this without traveling to Ukraine? Do we need an open visa to travel to Ukraine? And what are our rights as investors?
As I have already said, that you can do this without traveling to Ukraine by using the DIA web portal, but of course you have to prepare the documents in beforehand. Yes, you need visa to travel to Ukraine, and as investors, you have all the rights provided by the laws and the government of Ukraine. You do not have any specific rights, except if you are an investor with significant investments, you can use the opportunity that I've already said before.
Thank you very much, dear Ms. Oksana. And we've got a valuable comment from Mr. Dmytro Senik regarding the visa requirements.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to tell everyone that as of last year, according to the President's decree, citizens of Kuwait do not need visa to travel to Ukraine. And also, dear friends and participants, I would like to invite you to visit the web page ukraine.ua, which also contains information about tourist potential as well as investment potential that Ukraine offers to our friends and partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dmytro. And we've got another portion of questions. So can we get the directory information on projects, project owners looking for potential investors?
Yes, actually, I have already answered the similar questions. These kind of projects are introduced in our UkraineInvest guide that you can have a look on our web page. But if you need special assistance or need particular detailed information, you can address to UkraineInvest to receive this kind of reply.
Yeah, and also from the State Property Fund, we will share the investment menu of current investment opportunities in privatization in Ukraine.
Thank you very much. And finally, we've got a question about security. Is there any Czech authority to avoid fraud? How can we guarantee the security of investment? The question? Maybe connection lost.
If you in case of participation in privatization, the investor's security is guaranteed by the state. So all documents are prepared by the state, and you will get access to the investment units, to the facilities on the ground. Also, you are getting access to all information. And after that, you are signing the sale and purchase agreement with the State Property Fund. So here is the security of the investors are really secured. And investors can be really comfortable working with such type of approach with the state.
Thank you very much. Actually, there is another question really closely related to this one. How can we evaluate the process of this investment procedure? How can we be confident that all this process is clear?
The processes of privatization are done according to the law. So all they are written in the law. We within State Property Fund prepared very precise and transparent process. You will get access to all documents that were produced during the preparation of privatization. So your lawyers will be able to assess these documents in order to give you confidence that everything is fine. We are very open in this way, and also support you through all privatization procedures, through the auction, also through the signing of sale and purchase agreement and transferring of the assets.
Thank you very much. Dear listeners, could you please mute yourself so we could continue? Nice, thank you. Okay, there is another inquiry from our listeners, I think addressed to our speakers. Please share your contacts to communicate with the state authorities. Thanks. And the last question for today. Can we own agricultural land by registering in the name of the Ukrainian company?
If the Ukrainian companies, that means that not physical purpose, but juridical persons, they cannot buy land as for today's law. This could be allowed only starting from 224th, but it according, as I have already said, according to the Ukrainian legislation, for today, investors from abroad cannot buy agricultural land and cannot buy it if they are registered a company in Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Ms. Oksana. And the very last question for today. When the state support program will end? Should I repeat the question?
Please.
Yeah, so the duration of the state support program, how long it will take to finish it, to finalize?
According to the law, you have to implement your investment projects during the 5-year period. But the state special investment agreement with the government is concluded for the term of 15 years. So that means that investor should implement his project in 5-year terms period, but the government could provide incentives up to 15 years period.
Thank you very much. Well, as for the questions, that's all that we have right now. It all remains for me to thank from the bottom of my heart all our distinguished speakers and participants for contributing to this highly interactive and really first of its kind conference. I have no doubt that today's forum will lay a solid foundation for future contacts, negotiations, and hopefully joint projects, because government support for investments in Ukraine is really steadfast and flexible, as we have seen today. Now I would like to invite Ambassador Dr. Oleksandr Balanutsa to wrap up the event with the closing remarks. Dr. Oleksandr Balanutsa.
Thank you, Ms. Olga. Dear ladies and gentlemen, if we would like to wrap up our seminar with the numbers, then I would say that we had 99 participants today. We had more than 120 times mentioned the word government support. We had more than 50 questions posed, and we have more than 25 industries mentioned for considering to invest in Ukraine. Our team, Ukrainian team, has been very professional to provide you with all the information necessary. As you see by the questions that you pose, all the questions can be answered. The chat of the seminar has all the information that you need at the moment, with the contact details, with the presentation that we have, and moreover, those participants who are registered will also follow up with the emails to provide you with all the presentations and information that we have mentioned today. I would like to mention that Ukrainian Embassy in Kuwait remains your focal partner, local concentrated point of questions and answers. Those of you who have visited the Ukrainian Embassy know that we've been digital for a long time. We're using digital codes, QR codes for all your questions and answers. We are also supporting all those inquiries that are coming through all other social media, and we use Instagram, Telegram, LinkedIn, YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, all those social media. We're answering. Our professional team of diplomats are always there. Moreover, today I see very good friends of ours that represent the Gulf. We have friends from the United Arab Emirates, we have friends from Oman, from Saudi, which means that our seminar has really been global for today. And it's a great pleasure that it's been hosted by the Chamber of Commerce and Mr. Fahad. I would like to thank on behalf of my delegation, Mr. Senik, the Deputy Foreign Minister, who was so kindly to travel through these hard times to Kuwait to actually co-host that event with us. I would like to also thank Mr. Saleh, the Chairman of the Union of Investment Companies, and Mr. Yusuf, the representative of the key investment authorities, who found time in their very busy schedule, believe me, to be present today with us offline. Also, I cannot but mention that the diplomatic staff of our embassy, who has been working 25 hours, 8 days a week, has always been designated for you. We're at your service. I would like to thank my staff and thank you for the host for having us today. We're always ready to see your questions, and we'll always get you with the answers. Thank you so much. Ma'a salama.
Thank you very much. May the force always be with you, and let Ukraine be your next business destination.
We have to look at such technology.